YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. And since Sunday night, we've had three more trade deadline deals that went down. One on Sunday night involving the Steelers and the Jets, and two today. And I'm here in this video to break those down and give you my grades on all six teams for those deals. I expect more deals to happen. We'll have you covered. Some last-second prediction videos maybe coming out. We have plenty of trade deadline coverage already on the channel. Those videos are still worth watching. And then we'll grade the remaining trades. If they're smaller, they may be graded and talked about on Twitter. Either way, on Twitter, we're going to be talking instantly when those trades happen. We also talk during live games, so you're going to want to follow that Twitter. Link down below. Instagram, podcast, Patreon, links for those down below as well. 60K, that's our subscriber goal. Please help us get there. We're getting real close. Really appreciate the support. Full NFL coverage here. Full coverage, even in the offseason. So it'll be well worth it to subscribe. But we appreciate you very much if you can. Patreon has that extra content, way more than what's on your screen now, too. We're always adding more. Junior score predictions, my locks of the week for NFL and college football, and plenty more. Updated playoff predictions for the NFL, predicting the seeds, round-by-round winners, and then the Super Bowl winner. And, a lot going on there, so check it out. Let's talk about the deal that went down on game day, Sunday night, where both these teams played. It's kind of rare. We've seen it with the Jets already this year with Steve McClendon to the Buccaneers. But Steelers get inside linebacker Avery Williamson. Now, if you follow us on Twitter, you would know I talked about this weeks ago that he could be dealt, and I expect him to be dealt. And then we talked about it in videos here on YouTube. So Avery Williamson, the inside linebacker, goes to the Steelers. And then the 2022 7th-round pick goes to the Steelers as well. A 2022 5th-round pick goes to the Jets, so it's a swap deal, a 5 for a 7, and not this upcoming draft, but the future draft. Some things I wanted to point out is Avery Williamson is on an expiring deal. The Jets could have got a compensatory pick in 2022 from losing him in free agency. 32 of those, if you're not familiar with the compensatory picks, if you lose players in free agency, you have potentially can get a compensatory pick. 32 are given out every year, so it's not 32 teams, so that's not one a team. It's just 32 depending on the contracts and the contracts that you bring in as well in free agency. So that will apply to pretty much any trade. If you think a team would get a compensatory pick if they lose him in free agency, but that's something to keep in mind here. I do like Williamson as a fit in Mike Tomlin's 3-4 scheme. I view him as a 3-4 inside linebacker. That's where he played when he was with the Tennessee Titans. It's what he played when he was with the New York Jets here. Let's talk about the grades. Let's talk about the Jets first. I gave him a D+. I might be covering this a little bit, but I gave him a D+. I don't like the swap deal. You didn't gain a pick. Of course, you went from 7 to 5. That's a pretty decent difference there. 7th round to 5th round in 2022. He hasn't really been playing that good since he came back from injury, but I think that might have something to do with the Jets' defense. Maybe it's a little bit of a mystery. A little bit of both, perhaps. I think he's a quality inside linebacker in the right system. He's going to Pittsburgh. It seems like the right system. Either the Jets would get more, either they would gain a pick. If he would have left in free agency, which he would have, somebody would have signed him. I think they would have gotten a 5th or a 6th, we'll say a 6th-round compensatory pick for him in 2022. So some teams would rather get maybe a round later or a swap if it's in 2021. Right now, the upcoming draft wasn't really the case here. The Jets swapped in the same year, 2022. So instead of gaining a pick in 2022, even though a 5th might be a round earlier than what they would have got, they swap. I think there's a few teams out there that could use an inside linebacker like this. And we're only a day before the deadline, so maybe they would have heard from that team. But I don't know. They did it on game day. Did it on Sunday night. You think a team like the Packers may have called this morning. I don't know. I don't like the swap deal that much. They would have gained a pick compensatory-wise. Maybe it would have been a little less for a pick, so you could debate that. Why I didn't flunk them here is because he was going to go anyways. But you might have got a pick anyways. But, it seems like a fire sale in New York with the Jets. And then for the Steelers, I gave them an A. It felt like this, a couple weeks ago I would have said, watch out for the Steelers or Avery Williamson. But maybe last week, going this week, possible, but maybe less likely because, I don't know, Spillane's playing pretty good in Devin Bush's absence. He got hurt. I don't know if it's really going to make or break this team, perhaps, that an upgrade there, adding a player, but why not? You can't be afraid to be better, and I think you get better with this. So yeah, I give them an A because I think in terms of the value, they didn't actually lose a pick. They kind of just swapped. And I think you get a guy that fits. I think he can improve and get better in a Mike Tomlin scheme there. And whether they're rotating guys, either way, I think it helps them. And yeah, maybe they could have, in the run game. Of course, the ups in the run game, they surrendered quite a bit more yards than we expected in the Ravens game. So I suppose this just helps. You can't go crazy about it maybe because. Maybe it's a rental because of their cap space situation. They do have some open cap space in the future, though. But I think it helps them. It's an A. It's a good deal in terms of the value. So can't wait to watch him. We'll see how much he plays. Probably not a bunch right away. Probably ease him into it, but. Worst case scenario, they stay about the same, and this should make them better. Next deal, which happened today, not too long ago, actually, the Titans trade for Desmond King, the corner, but the defensive back, we'll call him, because he has experience at outside, slot corner, and even at safety. And the Chargers get a 6th-round pick, so we brought up in a past video, Desmond King could get traded, expiring deal. They're not using him maybe as much, even though they were using him up until this week. They're not using him as much anymore. So it felt like they got a bunch of guys they want to re-sign and sign guys to get better as well. So it wasn't a surprise to see King get moved. It's not a surprise to see the Titans add a defensive back because their secondary, mainly their corners, I should say, have not been playing good. They're allowing separation very quickly, too quick, I should say. So this really isn't surprising. The Titans get Desmond King, much needed corner. Chargers get a 6th-round pick. I'm giving the Titans an A+. I thought this is way better. This is ridiculous value almost. I thought it could take maybe as high as a 4th-round pick to get Desmond King. I think it's a really good fit. I think it's the type of guy that's a plug-and-play at corner in almost in any scheme, honestly. He understands man coverage. He understands zone, of course, coming from Iowa. Probably one of the better zone defenses, schools there is. So he's gonna be able to, he might not be able to get in the facilities until Saturday, I heard, but I feel like it's a plug and play guy. And I think you get much better. I definitely think they needed a guy from the slot. See Tyler Boyd just getting open. Just guys getting open quickly on 3rd downs, from the slot, really from everywhere, but from the slot. So I think he'll play slot corner. I think they'll play, and remember they're going to get Adoree Jackson back. We keep thinking that every week. Maybe finally they do, perhaps. I think Adoree, who can play in the slot, I think he plays outside. Malcolm Butler, the outside corner on the other side. That's a pretty good trio on paper, and it's a huge upgrade from what they had there. So I think this makes him better. The fact that he can move around a bit, his versatility, that's fantastic too, because they have their injuries here and there. They have guys struggling. So if they need him to play outside, for the fit standpoint, what he can do, how much he can help them, and in terms of the value, how cheap he was, a 6th-round pick, the Titans may have been open to giving up more than that there. I give them an A+. So I definitely think they improved by a decent amount with this one here. And the Chargers, I'm going to give a C-. The reason it's not worse than this maybe is because, they were going to lose him. They weren't going to re-sign him. They weren't playing him as much anymore. What would they have gotten compensatory pick? Probably a 5th or a 6th. Now, there was teams like the Titans that were desperate right now to try to win and get a corner like this. So I think that kind of drives the price up. So that kind of brings up surprising it's a 6th-round pick. But compensatory, they probably would have got a 5th or a 6th, but that's in 2022. So they get a 6th in 2021. That's a small positive. You can't really go crazy about a 6th-round pick. But really, I think they could have got more. Again, I think there was teams desperate. So I think that almost drives the price up compared to what the compensatory pick would have been or what we could predict. Those are very hard to predict at this time. Another thing is, he's been, to me, he's a solid corner for them. I think when they played him more often, they were better. He was better. I think it's a guy that works in their scheme. He's held them at multiple positions. So I think they could have re-signed him for more money, but obviously they have plans to do that, or for cheap money for more years, obviously, but they didn't have. I guess they didn't have a desire to do that. But something I noticed is they look what happened in that Chargers game this week against the Broncos. They played him 0% snaps. It kind of felt like they were ready to trade him, and they gave up way too many points against a struggling offense in the Broncos. How many 3rd down conversions they get over the middle of the field? They'd have been much better off with Desmond King. So you see, he might be better than we thought. He might be more important to that defense. And they played him less, but they played him quite a bit in terms of the amount of snaps up until this last week, which kind of made it obvious they were going to trade him. So yeah, I think they could have got more. I still think he's a key, maybe not key, but not like Joey Bosa key, obviously, but still I think somewhat of a key piece of their defense there. So I think they could have got more there. They get a pick now instead of 2022. That's the only upside there, C-. So another trade with two pretty big difference in grades between the teams in that deal. And then we go on to another one we really didn't expect to happen. The Saints, we expected the Saints to maybe make a deal because this is kind of a Super Bowl or bust year. They want to get a guy that can help them try to win that, obviously, because they're in a position to make a run this year, but they want to be able to get better. And then they go and do this with Kwon Alexander here, adding him from the Niners to the Saints. So they get Kwon Alexander, the linebacker, and the Niners get Kiko Alonso from the Saints, a linebacker, and a 2022 fifth-round pick that actually can turn into a 2021, depending, I don't know the exact specifics, but depending on how much playing time he gets and if he stays healthy. It's really the only concern with him. So Saints... not afraid to go out there and just find a piece that'll make them better. Interesting, because going into the season, we thought the Saints linebacker unit might be pretty good, and it's been pretty underwhelming, honestly. I've been saying it for a couple weeks. Demario Davis got too much responsibility out there in terms of filling gaps, in terms of sideline to sideline. You kind of want more, multiple linebackers that can do that for you. It's exactly what Alexander is, too. He could fill gaps, but that's not, maybe the top of his priorities. I think being rangy in the pass and the run game is big time. You see, Demario Davis got to cover. It feels like, I don't know, he's got to cover like a top target sometimes, got to cross the field. Too much responsibility there. The linebacker has been underwhelming, so Kwon Alexander, adding him to that, I think it's a good fit, good piece to pair with Davis. That makes them better for sure. And then, the Niners, they get a linebacker replacement. They had a fifth-round pick. Let's talk about the grades. I kind of just already summarized why I like it for the Saints. I give them an A here. I think they get better with this. They definitely get better. They had enough space to make this happen right now. Of course, not a whole bunch of money left. This is the second half of the season. He has a pretty big cap hit the next 2 seasons, actually, but no dead cap. So if you cut him, you free all that money. So the Saints, because of their cap space situation, probably won't have Kwon Alexander past this year unless they work on a restructure, but they're in a pretty bad cap space situation. But it's a rare player that has multiple more years that the Saints actually could have been able to get because of the no dead cap situation. So, rare situation. They found him. They got him. That was fantastic. Like I said, takes a little bit off of Demario Davis. It helps them in coverage. It helps them rangy-wise on sideline plays that could be run in pass situations. The bottom line, I think they get better here. The only downside is he has a bunch of cap, if you want to keep him in the future. So it might be a rental, but we kind of expected the Saints to be going that route anyways, having to go that route. So I like this. It's an A. The Niners, the more I'm thinking about it, this one, the more and more I like this. I'm giving them an A+ here for Kwon Alexander. Why? You just traded a good player for a 5th-round pick. You may be like, interesting. Niners, we know they got Fred Warner. They got Dre Greenlaw as well. So they hit on that draft pick a couple years ago. They actually view Greenlaw and Kwon Alexander a pretty similar linebacker there. They only want to play one because, you need Fred Warner on the field. You only want to play one of those guys, pretty much every snap. Of course, you use 3 linebackers a bit. They have some other guys that have stepped up, but they don't really want to use, they don't really have to use Greenlaw and Kwon Alexander at the same time. It's not really ideal for them, honestly. And they like Greenlaw. They like what he's put on the field. He's got a ton of potential because he's still young. So, and they haven't really been playing Alexander anyways over the last few weeks. He has been able to get out there. So, it's just pretty much the same thing. You get to play Greenlaw now, and you gain a pick here. Not only do you gain a pick, it's 2022 fifth round pick. Could turn into 2021. We'll see what happens there. But they kind of freed the cap space for the future, and obviously had no dead cap, so they could have cut him and saved that money. Probably what they would have done. I think it's pretty obvious here. But remember, if you cut a guy, you can't get a compensatory pick. So there was going to be no compensatory pick from Kwon Alexander, which if he's a free agent, there probably is he's a solid player. Somebody's going to sign him. You're probably going to get a compensatory pick, whether it's a fifth, maybe 6th, but you can't do that because he would have been cut. So they get this pick. They get the pick on a guy they were probably going to cut anyways, free up that cap space. And now it's kind of what it has been. It's Fred Warner, Drake Greenlaw show there at the linebacker unit. And there'll be times where they'll play 3 linebackers. But they like with those guys, their range and especially Fred Warner, the coverage ability there. So this made a lot of sense. To me, this is a big time win for the Niners. You basically got that pick that you weren't going to be able to get. And again, I really think they were going to cut him after the season. And it's a weird situation because it's not really because of his play. I mean, he has injury concern, but he's a really good player. He's a really good linebacker. So it's just because their current situation, who they like there, what they got. And so this helps out big time. A trade that is a little surprising, but now you kind of think about it and you see, for both these teams and see their situations, and it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense for both teams. So that's going to wrap up the recent 3 trades. We've had other trades that gone down. If they're smaller, we broke them down on Twitter, such as on the YouTube, it goes for Yannick Ngakoue, Carlos Dunlap. We have on the channel grades for those. And more videos like this to come. Trade deadline is very near. We're going to break it down. We got videos already on the channel covering it as well. So check those out. Full NFL coverage for every game, every week. We got you covered. So please subscribe, turn notifications on, smash that like button if you enjoyed. That's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.